Welcome back to another amazing conversation. I am so excited to be joined with Shantel Ochoa for today's conversation. We are diving into how our values, our intuition, our nervous systems can help us make really big decisions. And I'm sharing a really big announcement and decision of my own with you all on today's conversation. So before we jump in, Shantel, thanks for being on with me today.
Thank you. I'm so honored and happy to be here and holding space for our viewers, for ourselves, for the energy of the day, and just clearing away what needs to be cleared.
Absolutely.
Bringing in really beautiful intentions and conversation.
Mhm.
And I really do like what our conversation is today because I've been really feeling into my own intuition a lot lately. And so it's very synchronistic as far as what we're talking about and changes and that's on the horizon. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's interesting because you're not the first person that I've talked to who's felt that same kind of draw back to their intuitions. And I think we're just in, whether it was the eclipse season or it's been your whole year, there are just so many people that I've talked to who are feeling the almost chaos that this year has had. I know that I've been feeling it and are really feeling that longing for something that feels a little more grounded, for that clarity that can come when we can connect to our intuition. But there's also so much fear happening within that, and the fear of, well, what happens if I do that? And how do I make the decision? And what if I make the wrong one? And all of those kinds of things. And so when we originally set the idea for this conversation, that was what this was born out of. And over the last few weeks in my life, it's really transitioned into something so much more. So before we dive into all of the ins and outs of this conversation and why it's so important, I do just want to share the foundation for what this conversation has become. And that is a really exciting and very big change and transformation and announcement for both myself and for Moon Rising. And that is that I have decided to step down from my role as director with Moon Rising and to kind of go off on my own path and explore new things. There have been so many incredible moments during my time with Moon Rising and also leading up to this decision, and so many incredible journeys and signs and tuning in with my intuition and receiving support from my team and all of these things that have really come together and made this topic so much more potent for me. So today's conversation really has kind of become a blend of knowing how to lean into our intuition and sharing why I think that's so important, but also a little bit of my kind of final love letter to the community as I step away and transition into something new. So that is what we have, full transparency right from the top. And I really want to say that part of the reason that we're showing up and we're having this conversation and we're holding it in the container of your values and your intuition and your nervous system and all of this is because I really do firmly believe that we are in a world right now that is starving for that authenticity, that's starving for that connection, that's starving for that kind of bravery to really follow your intuition, even if it tells you to do something that can really scare your mind or feel really big or really overwhelming. And when I started getting the signs and the idea that maybe it was time to move on and see what was next, there was so much fear in my head, right? All of the stories of, well, what if I make the wrong decision, or what if it's not the right time, or all of these things that come up for everyone when we have to make a big decision, right? And I remember thinking, I wish that I had somebody who had done something like this to show my mind that it's going to be okay. Like if you make the big decision, if you follow your intuition, if you trust the intuitive knowing side of you over the logical mental side of you, that things work out. And I want to be that person. You know what I mean? I just had that realization of like, I don't have that person in my life, and I wish I did. And so I want to be that person for all of the people who need somebody to look at and say, well, what does happen if we follow our intuition? What does happen if we trust our gut instinct? What does happen if we decide to live a life that feels in alignment with what we want, with our visions? What happens if we do go after our goals? And does it turn out okay? And so I really want to hold that up, not as this like, ah, look at me and what I'm doing, but really as this like this is what this community is for. Taking the leap, tuning into our intuition, trusting our guides, trusting that life gets to be magical and showing up for each other as we do it. And so just from the start of it, I just want to say that I'm so incredibly grateful for everything that the community has to offer, all of the incredible people that are here, all of the incredible wisdom and support that comes through, and knowing that hopefully you get some of the background today of what led into this, what we have envisioned for what's coming next. And of course, next week we'll all be coming together as a team here on the podcast to celebrate, to reflect, to just be together in the lovely energy of transition that I know so many people are experiencing in their own lives after this eclipse season?
Yeah. And what, yeah, just filling into it all. And for next week, but what are you excited about? Like, what are you really looking forward to right now? Like
Oh,
as you're now and making this announcement and you can now be stepping into your own energy and into your own business and whatever is coming forward for you, like what are you looking forward to?
I love that question. It's interesting. I think I've mentioned it. No, I haven't. I haven't ever talked about it here on the show. In 2020, I was sitting in a history class and not paying attention like I should have been, but I was sitting in a history class and I had this vision. This logo popped in my head, this name, this idea, and I wrote it down. And I have the sketch on my wall right now. And it was just this really beautiful, almost fully formed idea that Spirit just kind of plopped into my head for the book that I wanted to write and the things that I wanted to talk about and the courses that I wanted to teach and the kind of community that I was going to create down the line. And of course, in my head, I was thinking this was, 15, 20, 30 years down the road. And this year, there have just been so many things in my personal life that have either fallen away or fallen into place. And that vision that I had 5 years ago has just really naturally unfolded and kind of been plopped back in my lap as this reminder. I even happened upon the sketch earlier this year before I was even thinking that, oh, maybe now's the time to bring it to life. And what I really think looking back kind of started all of this last January. I did a shamanic vision quest. And this idea that I had received in 2020 for Gateway House of Healing, this community, this kind of entity that I wanted to create was really at the center of that vision quest. And again, when I went on the vision quest, it was all very in the future. It's going to happen at some point. You're just walking the path. And this year, it's been incredible to see how so many elements from that vision quest have fallen into place and just become so clear that the time is now. And I really am just so excited for it. It has been absolutely fascinating, I think, to see how my life has shifted since I started working with what was Reiki Cafe and is now Moon Rising and now moving into Gateway because who I am has shifted so much. And Christine and I always joke that my life is kind of like a mosaic. Like there's just so many different random pieces of things that I do and who I am. And there were so many years where who I was really deeply embedded in teaching and in sharing this work and teaching others how to shamanic journey and teaching others how to connect with the chakras. And over the last year, that joy and that passion has really shifted more into working with people one-on-one, holding those really sacred containers, but also into writing, to be honest with you. And the way that I'm setting up things in this new area of life, it's really exciting to see that there's a container where that passion can get to come to life and that next little piece of the mosaic can click into place. And so I really am, honestly, if I'm being totally honest, of course I'm excited about what I'm going to teach next and the people I'm going to work with and all of that, but I'm really excited about writing at this stage and I'm planning on having a Substack, a weekly personal essay column that will eventually become a book. And I've got two other book ideas that I've been working on, and writing has really just been the place that my soul has been on fire lately. And I'm really excited to have more time to devote to that and see what comes through because of it.
That's really exciting, actually, because you are a great writer. So it's like being able, for those of us who may have books in our head, but we don't have all the skill set to put it on paper. You know, it's great to see that you're able to follow that passion and to do it, you know, because I think there are so many stories to put down. And you have a lot of wisdom to do that. So that's really great. And so your new business coming forward is Gateway?
Yes, so it's going to be
Yeah.
called Gateway House of Healing, and like I said, I've had this idea in my head for 5 years. I've had 5 years to think about what would I want it to be like, and what colors, and what logo, and what kind of things do I want to offer, and how do I want to set it up, and I'm really profoundly grateful for everything that Reiki Cafe and Moon Rising taught me because I feel like it's really set an incredible foundation for skills and knowledge and wisdom that I'm now able to kind of take into this next phase and see what's happening. And it's been really a wild ride, you guys, because if anybody else has experienced the crazy eclipse energy lately, I think that you can understand the feeling of just intense transition that we've all kind of found ourselves in, and Moon Rising has been that way too. We've been in a really big period of transition this year. So much has shifted behind the scenes in the company and the team, and but also in the way that we're showing up and the passions and interests that we have for the courses that we're teaching, and even just in the world in general. And just following the momentum of that energy and those transitions has really just made it clear that this is the next right step for everybody. And it's really just about opening those doors to something new, something different, something that's more in alignment with who all of us are, whether that's me with Gateway or you guys with Moon Rising, and how it's going to unfold from here. I'm really excited to see how it all goes, because it really just feels like this eclipse season kind of wrapped everything up, swirled it around, and now it's kind of spitting it back out, and the air's coming through and clearing away the smoke, so we get to see what's left. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be an incredible experience. And so, yes, to answer your original question, it it'll be called Gateway House of Healing, and I'm hoping to have a podcast and courses and sessions and mentorships, and then, like I said, a big pillar of it that is based on writing and sharing the shamanic wisdom and the spiritual ideas, but also weaving in psychology and neuroscience and somatics and all of these things, because I think they're so important. And it really does kind of take us back to the topic for today, of that idea of knowing when it's time to make big decisions, and how you end up making those. And I often tell my students that it's really knowing that you have your intuition, you have this internal GPS that can tell you where you want to go, what you need to be doing in that greater purpose. Then you have your nervous system, which is very much like your more human self, of what feels safe, what feels aligned, what isn't working anymore. But then you also have your values and your vision for life and what you want to get out of it. And when you know all of those, when you have those so clearly in your hands, making big decisions becomes, if not easy, at least simple, because then you can look at something and say, is this in alignment for me? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then it's time to find what is more in alignment for me. And I'm really excited to see what happens as I make that shift from knowing that what is in the greatest and highest alignment for me, for you, for whoever's listening to this, is also going to be what's in the greatest and highest alignment for everyone else. It doesn't work that if it's not in alignment for one person, it is in alignment for another. It's honoring the greatest and highest alignment for you is also honoring the greatest and highest alignment for the other people around you. And I really just want to drive that point home, that this is a completely like supported, team-led, like happy transition and alchemy and transformation for Moon Rising, of knowing that I'm following what's in my greatest and highest alignment, and it's opening up the door for something new to come through Moon Rising as well. And so I am really excited about it. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming next.
Yeah. I am too. I am too. And I feel that it's a great invitation for those who are listening to follow their own intuition and their own guidance, and to set fear aside, you know, when there's something that's calling on your heartstrings, that's really opening you up, because like you're saying, there can be a lot of fear in transitioning. And for me, just on a personal note, when I was transitioning from my career into being a full-time practitioner and owning my own business and working with Moon Rising, but also in my own practice and everything, it took a lot. And it took me a good, year and a half to do that. But there was things I had to close down energetically, emotionally, mentally, all of it. And so I'm really happy that our audience gets to witness that within you, because I think for a lot of people, they just need to see somebody who's doing it, right? And if you don't have anyone, well, here it is now. Like, we're offering that here right now to say, look, somebody can transition from a big position and follow their own hearts and see where they're led to go. And I love that. And I'm excited to see what your journey is and how it unfolds and how it unfolds for everyone, but definitely to witness where you're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it really is. I think there's part of me that was so defiant when I finally made the choice, because it's like I've been getting the little nudges all year and these little signs and little whispers from the universe about, hey, it's time to start thinking about it. It's time to start making your own path forward and thinking about that transition. And I just kept going, no, no, no. Like, we're doing such incredible work. I love my team. I love what we teach. I love what we do. And it was so interesting because I was sitting there, I was reflecting about this the other day and thinking about how it's so indicative of the way that we make big changes overall in our world today. It's never the main question is usually never, is this what I want to do? It's, has it gotten bad enough that I need to leave? You know what I mean? And thinking about how would the way that we show up, the way that we make decisions, how our lives look different if instead of asking, well, but is it really bad enough that I need to make the change? Instead of asking that, ask like, is it going to be supportive? Is it in alignment? What is my intuition calling me to? And so there was this little part of me that was kind of defiant when I finally was like, okay, fine, universe, we'll take the leap, we'll do the thing. I'm listening to the nudge because I want to live in a world where that's how we make decisions. I want to
Yeah.
live in a world where people get to follow their intuitions and life does get to feel magical. And when you get the signs from the universe, instead of sitting there going, well, but what if, and maybe not, and you go, okay, I can trust that. I can feel supported in that. And there's so much of me this year that has felt so lost, not at all because of moon rising, but just because of everything happening in my personal life. It's been a really heavy year for me, and there are so many pieces of me that have been longing for that feeling of being supported of by the universe, of feeling like I can't, to use Christine's phrase, I can't fuck it up, and just having that sense of like trust and surrender and alignment and personal power and magic and all of these things that I used to be so connected to. And I had a moment a few weeks ago where it really just hit me again. Like I say it to students all the time, but it really just hit me that those things aren't going to happen unless we make the choices that let them in. And because of all of the anxiety that I've had, because of how heavy the year has been, I've just been holding on and trying to hold on tighter and tighter and tighter to things just because, your mind goes into survival mode, your nervous system goes into survival mode. And it's like if I can just hold on a little tighter, if I can just, stick it out a little longer, if I can just make it better, then it'll all work out. Then it'll all fall into place. And it's like the tighter I'm holding on to things, the less I'm letting in, and the less opportunity can flow, and the less the energy can flow, and the less my intuition can actually say, hey, but look, that magic that you're looking for, it's not in this thing you're holding on to, it's over here. But I couldn't see that until I was able to sit back and go, okay, you know what? It might be scary. It might feel overwhelming. It might not make logical sense, but what is my intuition telling me? What is the universe telling me? What is in alignment with my values and where I want my life to go and how I want to shape it? And can I take a minute to have that sense of personal power brought back in and just let myself imagine for a minute? And it was really interesting how difficult it was just to let myself sit and think, like, if I put it all to the side, if I let go of the what ifs, if I let go of the fears or the worries about being judged or making the wrong decision or all of these things, if I just let that go and I tune in for 5 minutes, what comes up? What is the vision? What is the dream? And knowing that that dream that my intuition has for me right now, it is about writing and it is about having more time to be present with my family. And it is about teaching some of the things that have been bubbling up that are outside of what we usually teach at Moon Rising and things like that. We're just knowing that that shift happened. And it was a little wake-up call for my mind that at some point that shift happened and my mind didn't notice it. You know what I mean? It was at the start of this year, I was so aligned. Moon Rising was absolutely exactly what I was meant to be doing. And at some point over the last 10 months, it shifted. And my mind was trying so hard to hold on to, but this is what we know. This is good. We're doing good work. I love my team. I love these things. Let's just hold on to it a little bit longer and a little bit tighter. And maybe the universe will stop whispering that there's something else over here I'm supposed to look at, you know? And I did. I just had that wake up call a few weeks ago where it was like, no, you know what? This isn't this way of living, even though this way of living is teaching shamanism and having a spiritual podcast. And it's all of the right things, right? It's not what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. It's not what my intuition is calling me to. It's there's something else that I'm being guided to. And even though this one was absolutely incredible and exactly what I was supposed to be doing, and I'm so incredibly proud of what we've created over the last 6 months, 6 months, 6 years that I've been working with Christine and then with you. Like it's absolutely incredible. And I think that made it so much easier for my mind to try and hold on to it a little bit longer and say, but look at it's so perfect. Like it's all wrapped up in a bow. And just making that choice and giving my mind the space to say, okay, but what if? In a good way. You know, what if I did let all of it go? What if I did listen to what was in alignment? And it's really honestly kind of fascinating all of the ways that things have just fallen into place since I made the decision to let go and follow my intuition. And I was actually telling Shantel before the call, something that has just made my heart really, really happy is in July of this year around the time that I first started really, really getting clear on what the whispers of the universe were telling me to do, I lost my engagement ring and I could not find it. I searched for it everywhere. I had students trying to tune in and figure out where it was. I had Christine looking, like could not find it. It's been missing for 3.5 months. And this morning, as I got ready for this podcast, as I got ready to make the announcement, it was just sitting on the floor in my living room. And it's one of those where it's like it was absolutely not there. My
Yeah.
husband and I would have walked over it 20 times if it was sitting there. And it was just such a beautiful confirmation to any little last bits in my mind that were trying to hold on of no, the universe has got you, you know? And I think one of the things that I'm remembering from the start of this year with that part of me that was just kind of longing and feeling hollow is I was really longing for synchronicities to come back. Like I remember thinking that my life used to be so full of synchronicities. It'd be like five a day, something magical would happen. And I just haven't felt like that for the last few months. But since I've made space in my life for my intuition to actually talk to me, since I've started listening to what my nervous system needs, since I've started envisioning well, what is next? What is coming? What if I held space for magic in life? The synchronicities, like finding my ring again, have just come flooding back. And it's just been such a really beautiful confirmation for the parts of my mind that were really afraid of, what if it's just gone? What if the magic isn't there? What if this is the wrong decision? All of these fears that so many of my friends or students or community members are expressing about making their own big choices and decisions and shifts and following their intuition and I really do hope that moments like this and the examples that Chantal and I are bringing forward can be as much of a balm for the parts of you that have those fears as they have been for me and the parts of me that was really feeling all of that and knowing that I'm so just incredibly amazed at the way that the universe comes through and your intuition can guide you into exactly what you need, even if it's never what your mind would have imagined for you, you know?
Yeah. You know, synchronicities are, they really do show you where your alignment is. So if you're someone who does, if you are in alignment, there's a lot of synchronicities that come forward. And if you're aware of them and you're awake to them, you notice them, you pick them up. And so there's not a lot of interpretation to it. It's simply things like that, like a lost ring shows up, the right numbers, the right song, the right conversation, the thoughts, the downloads, the messages of energy that show up. And then when we step out of alignment and those things start to fade away, that's a very clear note of, hey, you're not paying attention right now. You've veered off far enough to where spirit can no longer really show you that you are in alignment, that those synchronicities aren't showing up. And so it's important for us to tune into that. Last week I traveled. So I'm in California and I flew to Georgia for a wedding, and then I flew to Missouri and then flew back to California. And it was a trip. Literally, like, I was on 5 flights in 2 days and traveling by car for many hours and then flying back home, missed my flight. I was in the airport for like 12 hours. It was ridiculous. And, part of what I realized out there is that our spiritual world, in my world, it's all spiritual. Everyone I work with, we're all in alignment to this thought, this way of living, the knowings. And then when I got out there, I realized there's a lot more people asleep than there are awake. A lot of just everyday conversations, driving down the road, as beautiful as our world is, because it really is. And I was in some amazing, beautiful places, but I could see the matrix. I could see the layers of what is. When we aren't connected to the divinity, if we're not connected to the earth, if we're not connected to our higher self, you really can see what the matrix is all about. And the shadows of the world and the shadows of people and what's happening, like whether it's the eclipse or whether it's energy showing up or conspiracy theories or not, or truths or lies or whatever we are surrounded by right now in the world, if we aren't tuned into ourself and our inner voice, we really can get sucked and trapped into a world that is more false than this. Like this to me is the truth of what is trying to be revealed. That's working so hard, like you're saying, the bubbling up, the coming to the surface. And we need to listen to our inner voice. And what is it saying? Where is it guiding us? Where is it leading us? Where is it taking us? Even if it's like, you're saying 5 years ago you had some spark of inspiration, but then January you do a vision quest, which is in the shamanic realm. Yes, amazing, because that's what you're seeking. You're saying, okay, universe, I am ready for this, and I'm going to go on this quest, and I'm open to whatever the outcome is. Right. And then the outcome starts to show up, and what does our mind do? It's like that restrictive energy. And it's like, no. And when you were talking, I was visualizing the abominable snowman with Daffy Duck, and he's like, and I'm going to love you. I'm going to pet you. I'm going to hold you. And then he like passes out, and he loved it. He smothered it so much that it dissipates. And so that's what I was, it's like the mind can smother things from existing, and it's wonderful to watch it. I was talking to my husband this weekend, and there's a lot of change, like I said, in my life coming. And he's like, you keep asking for change. He goes, and then it's here, and then you want to resist it. And I'm like, you know what? It's like, okay, man, I get it. And I really sat with that, and he's right. He's right. And so when the opportunities come for us to really listen and tune into our inner voice, we can't resist what shows up because we're the ones asking for it. We're the ones who are aligning ourselves to meet the universe, to meet spirit, to say, okay, what do you have for me now? And being on this planet for 51 years almost, I can say that there's definitely a lot of ebb and flow in life and a lot of closing doors and opening new ones and closed opportunities and new groups of people. And, it really is in the flow. And so when people look at my life and they see, my home and my life and this, and they're just like, God, it's just so like they see a vision for themselves. And me, I'm in flow to where I could say, pack it up, let's go. What's next? Right. Am I ready for that right now? No. But I know when that moment comes, I'm okay to be free. And I think sometimes we're just afraid to be free
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
gain that and to claim that freedom in ourselves and to say, because I am a true believer that, we're living this lifetime right now and whatever we're meant to do, we need to do it. And the old teachings of you just work your 9 to 5 until you retire at 65 and then you got your 10 years of living when you're old. No, I don't believe in that. Live it now. Like truly live it now and embrace it now. It's important.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that. And you're right, it's there is that part of me that's been saying like, "Oh, I want the synchronicities back. I want the magic back. I want that feeling like I'm connected to my intuition and that I'm on track with those visions that I have and I'm excited about what I'm doing and feeling like there's all of these next steps and exciting things coming my way and then here it is. Here's the opportunity to step out of that box to let the mind take a back seat and really trust the intuition and I'm constantly amazed by how powerful this work is because like you're saying it really is noticing. Do you have synchronicities in your life? Can you hear your intuition? Are you willing to go with the flow? And if the answer is no to all or any of those, then there's something deeper that your soul is trying to get you to see, that the universe is trying to get you to see. And this year has just been a big year for me of really looking at the things that my mind hasn't wanted to look at for a while and really taking the time and saying I keep joking with my husband that this is just the year where I'm just doing the things. I'm looking at the things that my mind has been scared of. I'm making the decisions that are in alignment even if they make my mind a little afraid. I'm doing the things because I don't want the life that feels like that monotone, monochrome, 9 to 5, retire when you're 65 and that's it. That's not the world. That's not the life that I want to live in. I want a life that feels magical and vibrant and in flow and surprising and like an adventure. And in order to have a life that looks like that, I've got to make the decisions that are in alignment with it. And I think it just goes back to what we were saying earlier of knowing, can you connect with your intuition? Can you trust your body when it's telling you this is a yes, this is a no, this is a boundary, this isn't? Knowing when that's been crossed, what you need to do to put those in place so that you feel safe. And then also your values. What do you want life to feel like? What do you want out of life? What do you want this one wild and precious life that you have in this body with this mind? What do you want it to be like? And then can you make the decisions that are in alignment with that? And it sounds so simple, and that doesn't mean that it's easy. It's certainly been hours and hours and hours of processing and working through and holding space and clearing energy and all of it. But it really is incredible when you can use those as your GPS. It really helps the mind get on board with it a little more and make space for it. And just knowing that the life that you want to live means that you have to make the choices that are in alignment with that life, even if it feels like it's shaking things up a bit.
Hmm. Yeah. And we've all been there. We've all been there. There's always transition in our lives. It's just how do we embrace it? How do we walk the walk, and not just talk it? And how do we show up for ourselves? And I think it's important to know and to recognize it because at the end of the day, at the end of this life experience, the only one that you have is you, right? I mean, we are surrounded by our loved ones, we're surrounded by the people in our life, but at the end, it's our journey. And if we're not happy in our journey, we need to make it happy. We need to shift it. We need to say, okay, am I stuck in grief? Am I stuck in sadness? Am I just stuck in being like mediocre or just stagnant, or am I ready to go and adventure life and experience whatever that looks like? It's different for everyone. Um, for me, it's like I have a million ideas all the time, all the time. I download all the time on ideas for this and ideas for that, money makers for this, money makers for that, buying land, opening business. Like I have so much. And sometimes I'm like, I ask, my guides and stuff, why do I get so many, but yet I'm not guided to go do them all, or the team isn't put together or whatever it is. But I think it's because I just bring in ideas and I share them, and wherever they're meant to plant, they plant. And whoever hears them, hears them. And if that's maybe for them versus for me. Um, and that's okay too. I think that we just need to get into this place within ourselves that fear isn't the primary emotion that we feel, that we live by, right? I think that fear has had its place, and it's time to let fear go to sleep a little bit. Like, go take a nap, like, let me just be happy for a while. Let me like enjoy life. Let me embrace what is. Let me be embodied and fully embody this life experience. And I think that when we can do that, when we can know it's there, like fear can be like this, but if we can create this little piece over here that's fear and know it's there, or our anxiety, our stress, or everything's right there, but it isn't how we create our life. Life is fuller. You can always pull fear back out. You can always re-expand that energy and then recollapse it. But it's knowing that we have the power to do that, that we have the ability to do it. And what if like stepping out of our comfort zone becomes the best thing we've ever done? But if that aligns us to all the right people and all the right choices and chances and opportunities, but if we sit in that fear-based energy, nothing can come because we've blocked it. We've said, nope, I'm not available to anything or change because I'm too fearful of it. And the universe is going to say, yeah, don't give that to them because they're not ready. We'll come back around. And that's where that cycle is. How long do we have to be in that cycle before we realize it's time to shift and move out of it? Right. And as I'm preparing for my archetype class to start on Thursday, I've been sitting in a lot of thought with soul contracts and their soul's purpose and what our like energetic like archetypes are all about. And dude, I can't even say how powerful it is. I can't. And I wish that people really understood the wisdom that comes from the teachings that are here and the teachings that we provide in our personal life and in our platform and all of it, because it's life changing and it can really expand our experience. And right now, I think that you're absolutely walking that.
Yeah. And, the other thing to add to that is knowing that fear can also be a not a stop sign, but just a sign that you're at the boundary
Oh
of
yeah.
who you were and
Mm-hmm.
where you could go. It's really fear happens at the edge of your comfort zone. And one of the most empowering shifts that I have made in the last 2 years, I would say, is really starting to look at fear not as a stop sign, not as a sign that you're doing something wrong or that it's all going to fall apart or that everything's going to go wrong, but really as a sign that, hey, this is just so you know, you're at the edge. You're at the edge of who you've been, and making this choice is going to turn you into someone new. It's going to shift your life in a new direction. It's going to push you outside of your comfort zone. Are you ready? And so I've really
Mm-hmm.
started looking at fear as an opportunity to reflect on, am I ready? Do I feel prepared? Can I trust those instincts that I have? Can I trust the skills that I have? Can I trust my strength, my flow to keep me moving forward, to support me even when I'm out of my comfort zone? And really from that space becoming really grateful for fear, because it really is this invitation to reflect on, look at how far you've come. Are you ready to go a little bit further? And what if taking that next step is, like you said, the thing that's going to change everything? And I keep saying to my husband, what, because he also quit his job earlier this year. It's been a big year of transition for both of us. And I keep looking at him and going, what if we say that this is the year that everything shifted? That because we made the choices that felt big, that felt a little scary, but that we're ultimately in alignment and what life was calling us to, that we did it anyway, in spite of the fear, that this is the year that everything changed and everything just, we look back at, man, 2025, it was hard in the moment, but I'm so grateful we did it because look what's happened from there. And I can feel that energy and that excitement in this transition. And I'm really excited to see what happens next and what does happen now that I've really truly taken the leap. There is no going back. There is no giving my mind control again. I sat down with my intuition the other day and was like, okay, we'll make the decision, we'll take the leap, but you've got to guide me through it. You've got to show me the next steps. You've got to keep me moving forward. And I can feel like the tingles in my body at the idea of like, yeah, yeah, I'm so ready to go back to living life truly 100% following my intuition because even though the mind can like you to think that you're doing that, it's so easy to just little by little start giving the mind control again. And I'm just really excited to let go of control for a little bit and watch what happens and watch what unfolds.
Yeah, that definitely is the alchemized version of fear. And, because a lot of people get trapped in it. And I love that you're able to see the fear like that from the other perspective of it, because there is a lot of people that they think like stepping into that's the illusion. And it's like, no, that's not the illusion. That is the truth. It's the spectrum of doing the opposite of what fear brings in or anxiety. Those are very important emotions to feel, but not to live by, like, at least that's how I see them. Like, let it be that nudging emotion that says it's time to move. Like you said, it's on the edge of it. But when you get trapped in it and it holds you in space, that's where I think like, okay, now let's alchemize that. Let's step into our power beyond what it is. And know that when we are seeing, because there's, we have a comment of like, when you see synchronicities and stuff, is that the illusion? And that's the mind wanting to tell you it's an illusion because it wants to pull you back in. You're opening up because when the third eye starts opening up, when the intuition starts opening up, you start raising your vibration to a level of awareness that is beyond the earth chakras of fear and being rooted in the earth. And, when we start bringing our energies up and you have this greater awareness, it's like, oh, but the brain does want to pull you back in and say, hold on, let's come on back down. Remember, we're fearful of that. And so it is important to align ourselves when it's time, and we know when it is. You start to feel it. It's for me too, it's like the nudges that happen. I received a message this morning for someone that I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and had to text him and say, sorry it's early, but before this message leaves, just so you know, because I've learned to trust when the messages come through, they're not for me to hold. They're not me for me to gatekeep. I got to give them wherever they need to go. And so it was something I could have held on to possibly, but is it a message I might have forgot or lost? And so, yeah, there's just those nudges that happen. Even if it's at 4:30 in the morning, you're like, sorry for the early text, but just so you know, this is what I received for you. Um, but again, following the intuition, and let's see what comes from that. And she might wake up and received a message that she needed to hear today. And so it really is, like I said, walking the walk and being on our journey and embracing the vision in which you're putting forward of, I want to live in my intuition. And for me, most of the time I do. I follow my intuition. I follow energy. Energy is everything to me. So it's like people think sometimes like, oh, it's fantasy. No, it's not. It's the reality of, if you're not in it and you don't feel it, it's just on the other side of your veil. It's right there. It's just tapping into it. It's allowing yourself to trust and to open up to what is and the possibilities that are there.
Absolutely. And so with all of that said, I would be so incredibly grateful and thrilled and honored to see you all with me on this next part of the journey. I will, of course, still be active in the Moonrising Shamanic Mystics Facebook group, and there may be potentials for collaborations in the future. So my face isn't going away, but my role in Moonrising as a company is shifting, and I'm really so excited to watch and see what happens as Shantel and Christine continue to hold space for Moon Rising and watch it unfold. And I will be in the Moon Rising Facebook group and keeping you guys updated. But I would also be so thrilled to see you guys in the Gateway House of Healing side of things so that you can walk this journey with me, walk with me as we find out what does the universe have in store for this vision that it gave me 5 years ago, and what does happen when you take the leap and make all of your decisions from your intuition. And I know that so many of you have been following along with my writing and my sharing this year. And so if you're interested in receiving more of that, all of that is coming soon through Gateway House of Healing as well. So I'm going to put the website in the chat in the show notes. It's just gatewayhouseofhealing.com. Right now, it is a coming soon page where you can subscribe to the newsletter, but by the end of next week, October 17th, I'm hoping to have everything up and published, as that'll be the official date that I'm fully transitioning away from Moon Rising and stepping down from my role as director and teacher and alchemist. And so by October 17th, it will be fully functioning and live. But I would be thrilled to have you join the newsletter. When you go to the website and you click the button to join the newsletter, you'll become a subscriber and be the first to know when the website gets published, when the podcast comes out, when the books are available and the Substack is published, and all of the new exciting things that are happening. And I'll be sending out regular updates and writings and essays and just all of the things to keep you guys updated and just really stepping into this next phase of what's lighting me up, what my soul is calling me to. And I'm just so excited to keep sharing and hopefully keep sharing it with all of you, because every single one of you who's listening, who's seeing this has been such a huge part of not only Moon Rising's community, but also of my personal journey. And I know that I would not be the person, the teacher, the writer, any of it that I am today without all of you and without the opportunity to walk with you and share space with you and hear your stories and your wins and your shares. And so I would love to continue to engage with you, have you be part of the community as well. So know that I have a Facebook group as well. So for those of you who join us in the Moon Rising Shamanic Mystics Facebook group, you can also join me in the Gateway Facebook group as well. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on TikTok now, which is kind of exciting. And then, like I said, I have that newsletter. And if you do only one thing from all of those, I would love, love, love to see you on the newsletter, because it will be just kind of the hub of keeping up with me and what I'm doing and receiving all of the updates and getting, special offers on when the courses open and when writings are available and all of that. So I would really love to see you guys there. Like I said, I'll put that link in the chat. And I do just want to once again just express my extreme profound gratitude for all of you and for Moon Rising and for what it's going to become and for having a community that hold space for this kind of transformation and this kind of transition. I think there are so many, like Shantel was saying, there are so many circles in the world where if you said, well, I quit my job because my intuition told me to, they'd be like, what? What do you mean you
Yeah.
quit your job? And I love that we have a community here where that is not only like, oh yeah, no, I get that, but it can also be a celebration and it can be a really sacred thing, because I think we all need a little bit more of that sacred magic in our lives. And I'm really so grateful to have the opportunity to open up that space in my life and see what fills it, and also still be able to hold space and support and watch what Chantel does and what Christine does and what Moon Rising becomes, and just all of it. I'm really excited for all of the transitions. And of course, like I said, I'm still going to be part of the community. I would love to receive a message from you if you have questions, if you want to check in, all of the things. You can message me on Facebook, or like I said, you can join that newsletter and message me through Gateway House of Healing. And I just can't wait to keep connecting and keep sharing and see what comes next.
Very awesome. Beautiful. It
Beautiful.
really is. It really is. And I know that we're going to continue to watch you, and you're going to be here, and you'll come back and, visit and put some of your wisdom around here as well. So definitely looking forward to all of that. And yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
Beautiful.
just sending
Beautiful.
so much love to your journey moving forward. And yeah.
Thank you. I'm so grateful and I'm so excited, and like I said, watch the podcast next week where we'll be doing a group celebration and transition and coming together to really celebrate what an incredible journey it's been for Moon Rising and close out this chapter. But until then, thank you all so much for listening, for showing up, for supporting, for joining the newsletter and continuing to connect with me as I move forward. And I'm just so excited to see what comes next for me and for all of you listening and for Moon Rising. And until next time, may you awaken to the whispers of wisdom rising from within. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you later.